Today we are joined by Ms. Meghna Sarogi, who is the founder and CEO of Style.me. Welcome, Meghna.
Thank you so much.
Meghna is a graphic designer who has turned entrepreneur. So she did her bachelor's in fine arts in applied arts from College of Arts. She was working earlier, and at some point she decided that enough of working for somebody, and she started her own venture. And her venture is called Style.me. This really is into augmented reality technology area. I would not dwell too much on it. She would be covering that in her talk with us today. Uh, what she won't really cover in her talk is what I would like you to all be aware of. She is a very dynamic person and has featured on various public speaking platforms like TED Talks, CNBC Young Turks. Meghna has also been selected to represent the India team at Survive and Thrive in Connecticut, US. Also, she has been mentioned in the top 10 women entrepreneurs by Cosmopolitan magazine. Meghna, we are very happy, very delighted that you could take time out on a Friday forenoon, and be with the students here. We welcome you very warmly to BML Munjal University's Incubator Propel. Before we begin, one request to all the attendees: kindly put in your comments and your questions in the chat box today. Meghna would first be sharing her story with us. And once she finishes her story, we would be picking up your comments and questions and sharing them with her and convert this into an interactive session. Thank you so much, Meghna. The screen is all yours.
Thank you so much, Professor, for sharing, such nice words about me. And I'm extremely happy and grateful to be here. And I'm happy that I'll be sharing my story with all the students. And I just hope it helps you in some or the other way. So, when yesterday I was talking to Professor, we discussed that I don't want to share a presentation with you because I don't want to bore you. I'm just here to share a story. And, we all know that we love stories. And since our childhood, we have heard stories, got inspired, followed some and unfollowed some. So as he mentioned that I was a graphic designer. I studied design from Delhi College of Art, and then I went to Srishti, which is in Bangalore, one of the best design schools in the country. And at that time, you've chosen a career. You've chosen to be a graphic designer, and that is exactly what I was doing. After my studies, I went back, chose a job, started working there. I don't think I had a motto. I don't think I had a vision. I was just going with the flow. Over the period of time, and I remember first time when I ordered a book from Flipkart and it reached me in less than 24 hours. That is when I felt that, the way technology is moving is amazing. Um, Let me give you a brief background about myself. I'm from Indore, which is a tier 2 city in Madhya Pradesh. And when I moved from Indore to Delhi for my studies and then Bangalore, I always had this insecurity and this feeling that I'm not very stylish. I do not know how to dress up. I was very underconfident about how I would put myself there. And even when I would go for shopping, I would always text my friends, take pictures of the things that I was looking to buy, just to know if this looks good on me. And I'm sure a lot of, especially women, would can feel the same. Because when I spoke to a lot of women in the trial room, especially, which was very funny, we realized that we take a lot of clothes, we take pictures, and we share with our friends, family, just for a validation. And then I did some study and I realized that on an average, a woman spends 1 year of her life just deciding what should I wear. So which was crazy. So my whole intention and my whole agenda and my whole vision was that if I can build a platform where women get more confident about how they look, and they are able to get instant fashion advice, not just from friends and family, but also fashion experts around the world. So that was my core idea, and that is how I began. But I was already working as a designer. I was already getting a very handsome salary, and I was in a very comfort zone. So we all know how difficult it is to leave that comfort zone and say, okay, from tomorrow or from next month, I don't want this salary. I don't want this comfort. I don't want any of this. And I'm going to be on my own. Honestly, it's a really difficult decision. And I think I sat on it for really long. Unless one day, a friend, a really good friend told me that, why are you even thinking about it? Because you're so lazy that we know you're never going to do it. And I think that stuck me because I felt that how can someone underestimate me? How can someone think that I will not do something? And, you know, I think I took it personally. I took it to heart. And later I realized that I have this in me that if someone tells me you can't do something, I will prove them wrong. And I think that was the beginning. So that was the first step, or the first time when I thought that, okay, I need to leave everything else and follow my dreams. Honestly, it wasn't easy. I come from a Marwadi family. So just when you are in college, everyone wants you to get married. And my parents told me that, you do whatever you want, but do it after you get married. It's, we all know how difficult it can be sometimes to fight with your parents. Thankfully, when I made them understand that, a girl can get married whenever she wants, but that does not and should not stop her to follow her dreams. And I'm glad that my parents were understanding. They understood what I was talking, and they let me do whatever I was doing. So this was the starting step. As a designer, I was extremely lucky to be designing for InfoEdge, which is the parent company for Naukri.com. And that is how I met my first mentor, Mr. Sanjeev Bikhchandani. I think that was a turning point in my life because I had a vision to build world's largest fashion tech company, and I did not know tech. I did not understand coding. I did not understand any of it. I did not know how I'm going to do it. I just had this zeal that I'm going to make it. I didn't know how. So when I met Mr. Bikhchandani and I told him what I want to do, he said, "Sounds great, but what do you want from me?" And I said, "I think the only thing I need from you is to be my mentor. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I don't know. I don't understand any of it. I'm not from a business family. So I don't know how to run my own business. But I know somehow I will make it. I don't know how." And at that moment, he said, "Okay, yes, I'll be your mentor. I'll be around whenever you need me." I think that gave me that immense confidence that someone, as experienced, as popular as him, like he's literally considered as the godfather in the Indian, startup ecosystem. So when he said yes, it gave me confidence at another level to start on my own. It was time to pack bags and move back to Indore because, I had decided to quit my job and it wasn't going to be easy. I was not going to earn a salary from next month, and I wanted to cut down on all my expenses. So when I moved back to Indore, I think the biggest challenge I had was, of course, finding the right people who would believe in my vision and decide to work with me. But more than that, I think one gets emotionally drained when you realize that your friends aren't supporting or your family is still skeptical about what you're doing. And all my friends, people around me would tell me, why have you left your, high paying job? Why are you doing this? And 4 years from now, startup was not such a huge thing in Indore. Like, it wasn't something that was looked up to. And people would think, acha, job nahi mili to startup kar rahe hain. So that was the kind of attitude that people had. And that really pulled me down. But I did not give up. And once there was someone who really liked what I was doing. And this was the first time and the last time such a question was asked to me, but I think I should share. So this gentleman who wanted to invest in my idea, he came and he said, "Look, you look damn passionate. I can see it in your eyes. But what when you get married and what when you have kids? Are you going to have the same passion? Are you going to be running the company?" And that made me think that, these questions are never asked to a guy. Why am I being asked these questions? So I answered, of course, with the same zeal and confidence, saying, a woman can handle both work and family, and that is the biggest quality that a girl has. So these were certain incidents that were constantly pulling me down. And plus, I did not have a team. I did not know how to build a team. Even if someone comes and shows me code in Latin or Spanish, I wouldn't understand. That is how coding is to me even now. So with the help of Mr. Sanjeev Bikhchandani, I understood certain steps that I should be taking. I got couple of people, couple of graduates, fresh graduates from a college to start working on my idea. It took me much more than what I could have done within that time to build my first prototype. And I was damn excited because my first prototype was on Android. I was trying to launch it. Um, and, you know, Suddenly I realized that everyone who's into fashion, or especially these fashion bloggers, are all on iOS. So that was my first learning, that I had not done my homework well. I did not understand where my target audience are and things like that. So I outsourced another company, and I made them do iOS, the product on iOS. I think after 4 months, I was ready with all the platforms, ready to launch. I did not know how to do it. I did not know how to market a tech product. Um, I was looking for funds, and I thought maybe a fundraising would help. When I reached out to a couple of people, I was told that you are a girl, you don't even know tech, you don't know coding, you've just got a random product made from some programmers who you don't even know. There is no one at all who is going to fund you without a tech co-founder. And it I took it too hard. I was like, how can someone tell me I can't do this? I have left my job, I've come back to pursue my dreams. I'm doing everything I can every single day to live to my dreams. And here there are people who are saying that I will not be able to do XYZ just because I don't have a tech co-founder. And you know how I told you that when my friend told me you can't do this, I proved him wrong. That was my second learning, when I said I need to prove these people wrong. And it was just serendipity, destiny, whatever you call it. But just then, there was this another gentleman who was helping me as a mentor, and who was constantly keeping a check of me on me. The minute he got to know that the product is live on both the platforms, he said, let's go and raise funds. And I was like, because people have already told you and put it in your head that you'll not be funded, you just keep questioning yourself. So when tomorrow someone tells you that, hey, you can't do this, don't ever question yourself. If you believe it, you can do it, just go for it. So when I was told that, okay, let's go and raise funds from Indian Angel Network, I was very skeptical. I was extremely skeptical. Uh, Not like I didn't believe in my idea. It's just that I wasn't sure that, my first pitch, am I going to get funds or not? But I raised my first round of funding. It was a seed funding from their small ticket, funds that they had as a scheme that time. And I raised my first round of funding without any team. I had 0 people in my team list. I was the only person who went, pitched, uh, it was appreciated, and I got funded. And I think that was one of the biggest lessons of my life, when I realized that no matter who tells you what, if you believe in something, and if you are persistent, and if you have decided that you are not going to give up, nothing on this planet can stop you. Literally nothing. So it was a time to, it was again a roller coaster life at time, and it was time to go back to Delhi, because in Indore it was impossible to find someone who would believe in what I was doing, who's going to spend that kind of time, energy, heart, soul, sweat, and blood in doing the same kind of thing, or to to get that vision alive. So I, with the help of my lead investors from Indian Angel Network, and I have to say that I was extremely lucky to get the best ones. I moved back to Delhi. And this time, I was stronger. This time, I was more confident. So I chose a co-working place called Innovate. And I did this with the help of a friend who vouched that I only stay at Innovate because of the kind of atmosphere it has, because of the founder, Ritesh, who's the founder of Innovate, is extremely helpful. So for XYZ reason, I moved to Innovate. But for the first 3 months, I was lost. Every day I would go and I would be the first person to reach Innovate, and I did not know how to start because I did not have a team. And you know, one thing over the period of time I learned about myself was I was extremely persistent. I was a hustler, and I am a hustler. And I would leave no opportunity untouched. So one of the designer that I was working with in Indore, he told me about this guy called Akhil Tolani. And he said, look, in my 15 years of experience, I have met many programmers, but I haven't met anyone like him. And I was like, okay, who's he? You know what I was told? He was an 18-year-old student who's just joined college. And I said, are you kidding me? Like an 18-year-old kid, uh, you know, how can he be such a great programmer? And he said, just meet him and you will know. But I was told that he's not going to join me in any case because he doesn't want to leave his studies, etc. I said, okay, let's let him not join, but I want to try. I want to give it a shot, and I want to at least speak to him. I spoke to Akhil, and in my head, uh, I don't know how many of you are 18 right now, but in my head, I said, okay, 18-year-old would be a kid, and it might be easy to convince him. When I spoke to Akhil first, I was zapped. I mean, he knew his worth, he knew his value, he knew what exactly he was doing. And most importantly, I was damn impressed by his story. He started coding at the age of 9. And by 18, he had worked for more than 25 projects. He sold a company in $100,000 when he was 15 years old. And I was just wondering, what was I even doing when I was 15? Like, I had no idea. So when I told Akhil the whole idea and that he should join us, uh, he demanded a salary or a compensation which was way beyond my reach at that point. So he had to tell me a no. And when I got that email saying, where he mentioned that I'm sorry, but I'll not be able to join you, in my head somehow I said, okay, fine, you're anyways not joining, let's meet for coffee. I met him again. And that is when I showed him the vision. I told him that, money is something that we will make if we build a great product. But how many times do we get an opportunity to build a world-class product, which is going to go global, which is going to take us to places? I mean, sometimes it is just once in a lifetime kind of opportunity. I mean, just imagine if any of you would have been like the first 5 members of companies like Amazon, Flipkart, Ola, Zomato, all of that we are all proud of as Indians. It would have been a great opportunity for you all, right? So when I spoke all of this, and I think Akhil could see passion in my eyes, one thing that I think Akhil believed in is the fact that I will do whatever it takes to make this company. I will take whatever it takes to make it a success. Uh, and over coffee, I think in less than 5 minutes, he said, okay, let's do this. And at that point, Akhil was the lead developer at Redmi Good, which is another startup. He was earning at least 5 times more than what we could afford to pay him at that time. But I was very keen to have him, on board. And we had this understanding that over the period of time, if things work, he'll also join us as co-founder. And very happy to share that last year I got him in Style.me as a co-founder. So imagine a guy who started at the age of 9, who sold a company at the age of 15. At the age of 18, he was working with like some 25 companies. Today, he is the co-founder and CTO of Style.me. So that is how I hired my first team member. Post that, there were a lot of ups and downs. I mean, we were trying to launch our product. It was a product which required a lot of funds, a lot of marketing. We used to constantly keep going back and forth. uh, it took almost 1.5 years, and we were somehow feeling that there is something missing. We were somehow feeling that we're not there. And but as an entrepreneur, we tend to fall in love with the idea. We tend to love and fall in love with what we have been thinking, what we have been envisioning, what we have been imagining. So even if someone would suggest to me that, okay, why don't you think of a pivot, why don't you do something else, and I would be like, I would take it, I would be very offensive. I would say, no, I'll make it work. And during that time, we got this brilliant opportunity of being styling partners at Vault. Vault was, in fact, India's first Shark Tank, Indian version of Shark Tank. Like, I don't know how many of you know Shark Tank, but it's a reality show where there are multiple investors who come, and the startups come and pitch in front of them. So I was damn excited, to be styling partners. And then I think the investors there in the show, who were judges, saw that passion in me, and I was overnight. I was asked to be on this show, and it was not a moment that I had imagined or envisioned. I mean, I wasn't even prepared for it, but it was amazing to know that you are going to be on national television. You are you are going to be talking or sharing your story or your startup idea with the world. And I wasn't sure what I'm going to ask. I wasn't sure the money that I was going to ask. So during that time, we were raising funds, okay, and our lead investors from our previous round had already decided to fund us, etc. But when I went and pitched at the Vault, for whatever reason, whatever, I mean, I don't want to mention, but uh, I had to say no to 2 crores right in front of the national television. And there were people who were shocked, because as an early stage entrepreneur, when you were asking for something, so I asked for 1 cr on the Vault, and I was offered 2 cr. And for some reason I said, I'm sorry, but I will not be able to take it, and I still stand by my decision, because I feel that at that point, it was extremely ethical for me to take that decision. And I think, more than anything else, what an entrepreneur needs is to be sticking to their values and being extremely ethical. So I had to say no. And post that, from the place where I was supposed to raise funds, I could not raise funds. So imagine, at one situation where I was getting money right there, and I said no for something that was going to happen, and that did not happen. I think I could not pay salaries for 5 months. But I'm extremely proud to say that none of the team members who were there at that point left the company only because of money. I mean, imagine not getting salary for 4 to 5 months is a huge thing. We all have our expenses to take care, our rent, food, everything. I could not pay money to innovate. And Ritesh was kind enough to say, okay, you pay whenever you can. Every single night, I think I would have sleepless nights every day, because that whole pain of not being able to pay your team, not being able to take care of something that you've started. And every day used to be a challenge. I wasn't sure um, when this situation is going to get better. I think I reached out to more than 100 investors at that point, over emails, LinkedIn, calls, references, and I had some of the best references, but nothing was working for me. It was it was disappointing. I mean, there were certain incidents when I thought of giving up, but then I've always believed in one mantra and I wanted to stick to it. And that is, if you start something, just go all the way. Like giving up should not be an option. And every single time when I was thinking of giving up, this is what, even if the thought occurred, this is what I would think and say to myself. One day when I met Sanjeev, just to share what I was going through, and when I came back to office, I got a message from him saying, "Hang in there, hang on there." And that was the moment when I said, nothing on this planet is going to, let me to shut this down. I'm not going to give up whatever it takes. As I said earlier, as an entrepreneur, you get stuck to your idea. You don't want to make changes. And that was the point when I realized, if I want to make this work, I have to be open. I have to be open to changes. I have to accept reality. A pivot does not mean giving up. A pivot just means that you are looking at things from a different angle. So this was a great learning for me, where I was a different person. I was willing to learn. I was willing to change. I was willing to change the whole idea as well. The core of my idea has always been to enhance the shopping experience, right? And that is when I was just exploring different ways or means how the world is going to change. How are we going to look at things tomorrow? How are we going to shop tomorrow? Augmented reality is one thing that has always fascinated me. I mean, I'm sure all of you have used doggy filters on Snapchat, right? We've all used that. We've all used those crazy filters on Snapchat and Instagram and been extremely excited about it. It's stickiness, right? We can play with it for hours. So augmented reality was something that really fascinated me, and that is when I thought that, what if people start seeing things in augmented reality? And that is when they can make purchases. We started with lenses. You know how your eye lenses can change without doing anything. That was so cool. Women have a lot of problem trying multiple lipsticks and then removing it to see whether it fits on their faces or not, looks nice or not. So we started with lipstick also. Once I was going for a shopping with my mom to a jewelry store in Indore. And at that point, the only jewelry brand that I would resonate with or I would relate with was Nirav Modi. I know, that brand doesn't exist anymore, but Nirav Modi's designs really inspired me because it was so cool. It was so, it was futuristic. It was very international. So every store that I would go to, I would in my head think that, okay, I'll get probably that kind of designs, but I would not find it. And jewelers would send or share their catalogs with me. They would share pictures, and I just kept wondering, how am I going to look in these jewelry? That was the point when I realized that how about doing augmented reality with jewelry? Any other tech platform on this, in this entire world that works on augmented reality for jewelry were working either with instruction based technology or static images, where you have to take a picture, drag, drop, see how it looks on you, etc. And all of the products were very, very cumbersome, not comfortable, not convenient to use. So that was the reason when we decided that let's work on augmented reality for jewelry. We built our first product. We got our first client, which was PC Jeweler, one of the biggest jeweler that time. And we thought, okay, we've got a breakthrough. We did not realize that we are sitting in the Indian market. 90% of the jewelers are from 5th, 6th, 10th generation. They are extremely old school. So for them to accept technology, and more importantly, I mean, how many of us pay for technology? How many of us pay for Word or Adobe or whatever? So for them to accept the fact that, okay, I can use technology, but I also have to pay for it, was extremely challenging. I think for the first 6 months, we did not have more than 10 clients. That is when we participated in an exhibition. We showcased our technology to a much larger audience and in a much larger way. So I'll tell you briefly about what we do. So we built this product called Mirar, where a jeweler can host their entire inventory digitally. The minute you come in front of it, it automatically snaps your face, just like Snapchat. and you can try thousands of jewelry in like a few minutes. People thought it was damn cool. And we would try and explain the jewelers how it is going to help you manage inventory, how it will give larger experience to the clients, etc., to their customers, etc. But it took a lot of time for them to understand and adapt. Then great things happened to us. That was Tanishq. Tanishq team totally believed in what we were doing. They took this technology for the first time ever from a store to an exhibition, where and then two airports. So we were in two airports in India, where Tanishq created like a Victorian style setup. Imagine they had hundreds of jewelry that shoppers or visitors could just try it on themselves without any physical inventory. I think we became viral on the internet for the same technology. Suddenly, everyone who never believed in augmented reality wanted to work on augmented reality. That is how we started getting our clients. Today, in 1.5 years, today we have 150 clients, brands that we are working with in 28 cities in India. We are working with clients in South America, New York, Nepal, Singapore, and more. This is all because we decided as a company, as a team, to accept newness, to realize our mistakes, to work harder, to achieve and not fail. And even, from 1 to 150, the journey has not been very easy. When people talk about numbers, everyone feels, oh, it's like an overnight thing. And, I think we are somewhere. Our vision is there. We are not, and we still have a long way to go. So definitely we have a long way to go. But uh, in this whole journey, from when we started thinking about augmented reality to now, couple of things that really boosted our confidence or gave us that motivation that we are on the right track is, first time was when I was selected to be, like, imagine representing India at an international level, at Survive and Thrive, where I actually met one of the sharks from Shark Tank, the investor, and sharing my story. The second was when I was selected for WEQ, which is where there is, so it's mainly for the women entrepreneurs, and we were selected to go for an experiential trip to Silicon Valley. And the kind of people I met there, the kind of inputs I got there, you know not just about the idea, but about scalability, about product market fit, about entrepreneur market fit. So as an entrepreneur, we try to do multiple things, and that's a part of our job. But we also need to understand and know what we are best at, and do at least that thing in the best way. And recently, in fact, very recently, we were invited by Inhorgenta, one of the largest and biggest luxury jewelry exhibition in Munich, in Germany. And we were invited to showcase our technology in their future of retail zone. I mean, just imagine uh, someone from India being invited for that. Last year, I was invited by JCK Las Vegas, again, one of the biggest exhibitions in the world, to again show in their innovation zone. And that is when I met this gentleman called Mark Stuller, who owns one of the biggest jewelry manufacturing firms in the world. He told me something that gave me another aim or a vision in life. He saw my product and he said, "Are you from a jewelry industry?" And I said, no. He said, "Are you from, are you sure you have no connects to the industry?" And of course, I don't have, and that has been a challenge. But as always, I've been finding my ways. You know what he told me? He said, "We have always looked up to India as a product. I mean, as a service country. We haven't seen India as a product company. So it gives me immense pleasure to tell you that this is a great product, because I'm surprised. I'm still surprised, and I'm shocked to see that someone from India who does not have a background in the subject has built a product which is far superior than anything else that exists in the world right now. And I felt amazing. That is when I realized that I'm so glad we built this out of India and we have a product that is going to go global. So I think, this journey is going to keep continuing and we have a long way to go. But the whole point is that how, if you don't give up at every single point, and if you push yourself a little bit harder every single time, trust me, nothing on this planet is impossible. So I see Professor Devender, and sir, what do you think?
Meghna, I think it would be good for you to show your product to the attendees.
Yes, I would
If
love
you
to.
do a demo for them, I mean, it's been appreciated so well, and it's something that has impressed people and kind of put India as a product country and not just a service country.
Sure, just give me a minute. I'm just sharing my
Sure,
screen.
sure. Yeah, and we have some questions, but let's pick up those questions after you do the product demo.
Sure, sure.
Yes, it's
Sir,
visible.
can you see my screen?
Yeah, we can see your screen, please.
Okay, so this is the tech or the product that I was talking about. Okay, so if you see, there are multiple jewelry here. Uh, there are earrings, necklaces, sets, etc., etc. Now, how it works is pretty cool. I just have to bring my face in front of my technology. Can you see how it looks? And
Oh, that's amazing.
just with a swipe, I am changing the jewelry. And now if I make it closer to my face, it'll look bigger. If I take it far, it'll become smaller. So it exactly works how a mirror will work when you're wearing something and seeing yourself. If I move, it'll just move with me as if I'm wearing it. So these are, suppose, the necklaces. So again, I'm just swiping with just a finger. So right now, sitting here, I'm probably trying, jewelry worth some crores. So I can, have my entire inventory here. This becomes extremely amazing for people who want to show more inventory to their clients. And also, I think, with the current scenario that we are in right now, where we are middle of COVID, people don't even want to touch things or try because they'll always be worried about sanitization. This is like a life savior for. So yeah, this is how it works. I can take a picture. I can see how it looks on me. I can share it with the links to my friends and family.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool.
So yeah, this is how the product works.
This is amazing. I mean, it would cut down so much on the inventory cost of most of the,
Yes,
not just
yes.
the jewelry people. I think that it can possibly anywhere, anything which needs to be tried down and checked on. It saves time as well, but amazing. But tell me, Meghna, I mean, you are from a non-technology background. You're a
Hmm.
graphic designer,
Hmm.
and you moved into a space which is, if I were to call it, advanced tech, so advanced that people abroad are getting impressed with it. How difficult was it for you to set up or run this company? And what do
Extremely
you see?
difficult.
Well,
Extremely
that's what you come.
difficult.
But if you to pick up some of those times, you said, somebody who's getting into it, what would be the few things you will tell them? You do such a big change.
So see, as I said, the first and foremost thing I would always say is don't give up and find a way. So there is a way for everything that I've realized. Everything on this planet. I will not name the investor's name, but when I just started, I used to dream of having XYZ angels on my portfolio, on my cap table, and people would laugh at me. And I just used to find my way. So whether it is tech, so see, I'll just tell you couple of things that's extremely important to build a company. First and foremost is a great team, a team that believes in you exactly what you're doing, and they'll work with you day and night. A team that is not going to give up, same as you, right? So a team is one of the most important thing for any company to survive. Second comes the product, then the clients, etc., etc., etc. And you, at every step, so whether it was, as I said, in the first go, Akhil said no, but I was damn adamant that I will get this guy to work for me. I knew what kind of team I want. Second, the product. I'm not a techie. I don't know how to code. But I found my ways to, whether it was outsource it, which was right or wrong decision, then to build a team. And another thing is, which I feel a lot of people think that, oh, if I ask for help, people are going to think I don't know things. Always reach out and ask for help. Trust me, you will be amazed to know that how always people are willing to help. Today, even if you go to the most popular investor or the most popular founder in the country, and if you have the right approach and the right connect, I can vouch for it, you are not going to be disappointed. You will find a way. There is no way that people will not help you or not respond to you. I can't tell you, and I can't tell you how grateful I am for all the people who helped me at every single point, whether it was for hiring, whether it was just to give an advice on, so I'll tell you this story. It Someone told me your first hire is not a milestone, but your first fire is. As a girl, especially, trust me, it is extremely difficult to fire someone, because you have that guilt that someone's life is dependent, someone's expenses are dependent on you. I think before I fired my first employee, I did not sleep for 7 days, 7 nights. I had sleepless nights, and I would cry just thinking that shit, I have to fire that person. I reached out to one of my friends, and he told me, you have to think, you have to stop thinking Meghna as a person. You have to only think of Style.me as the company that you want to grow and succeed. If that person or situation does not adds to your future, let it go. And that is when I realized the power of letting go. We all have this hiccup of letting things go. So coming from a non-tech background, uh, putting all of this together, and not just non-tech, like I was clueless. I mean, not even like I had run a family business or any business to understand how things work, how you deal with people. But as I said, things will just fall into place if you are determined to make it happen, if you are persistent to not give up. And I think even going forward, so when I speak to lot of students, especially who are just out of college or getting out of college and who are thinking of starting on their own, uh, I think, you know this is a great time for us, great time for India, to be starting up. Look at our government, the Startup India platform, and all the other opportunities that we are getting. I think even in terms of investors and angel investors, everyone has been extremely supportive. So I think, find people who believes in you, find a mentor who can guide you. Uh, Investment money is not I mean, you should never take investment just for money. Take it for people. You should find investors who would support you at every step. It is not going to be a bed of roses all the time. So if you don't get investors who stand by you when the time is tough, then you're gone. So you need people at every stage of life to be able to succeed, only when you have the right people and of course the right product.
Right. That's very interesting. You spoke about firing somebody, and that's not an easy decision. And I think hiring people also is not an easy decision. So Utkarsh wants to know, when you hire a person, what do you look for? And as a startup, what do you look for a person when you hire
The
them?
most important thing that I look is their zeal, and their zeal to make things done, and the attitude. So I think skills can be built. My second hire, at Style.me was a backend developer. He had co-founded another company before Style.me. I mean, before joining Style.me. So he joined as a developer. Today he's the COO. He handles the entire company. He does operations because he had that attitude to get things done when required. So even if I feel that a person lacks somewhere in the skills, of course, we all look at skills, and that's critical. But I would never trade off attitude, passion, and that zeal. and also core values. So I think every company should have their culture and their core values. And if that does not match with the person's values, then you should not hire.
You spoke about values, and you also spoke about you had a chance to say yes to a 2 crore funding.
No to a 2 crore.
You said no to it, right?
Yes, I said no to it.
Yeah, and you said it's something to do with ethics and certain values. But tell
Yes.
me, how is it easy? I don't think it's easy enough to say no, and that too when it is you've been through a lot of struggles.
Yeah.
So what would you tell people? How do they avoid the temptation of letting go of values or ethics for something which is so clearly a successful?
So I think, we all get involved in the daily day-to-day details, right? And sometimes it's important for us to step back and see like a larger picture. So you see and you ask yourself that, I have realized one thing. I can say lies, I can lie to the world, but I can't to my inner self, right? So you ask yourself, what I am doing, is it correct or not, right? Does it align with my vision, my future? Is it fair? I think being fair is extremely important. It's a very simple word, but it's extremely important. Fair to your team, fair to your investors, fair to your people, fair to your customers, fair to yourself. Most important is being fair to yourself. And that is what I asked myself. I said, if I'm going to take this decision, if I'm going to say yes, am I going to be doing the right thing for the people who stood by me for so long? For people who stood by me when things were not right. And today, if I take this decision, I will let them down. So should I do it or not? And it was, so, on a reality show, you don't get too much time. I probably got a minute or two, right? And in that time, I took that decision, and it was purely from my heart with very strong values attached. And I don't regret it even now.
Yeah, it's a very, very difficult situation, but I think really, really appreciative of you. And I guess somewhere it pays off, your passion, your zeal, and your values, and how you deal yourself with people. Because you mentioned for a 4 or 5 months, you didn't have any revenue, you couldn't pay salaries, you couldn't even pay for the place you
Yeah.
use. And at that time, the same set of people were there with you. They stuck to you.
Yeah.
I think somewhere maybe the zeal and passion and values got together to keep that going. We have one question from Chitrangad, who is a very young student. He's going to graduate this year from an undergrad program. And he's saying, how did you lift yourself up when nothing was going your way? Even in the beginning, when the close circle or even the family judges you not in a very appreciative way, where do you find that spot? Where do you find that what to say is the encouragement to keep yourself up and going?
So I would read a lot about the global startup ecosystem, and I would always envision myself there one day, and I still do. Second most important thing that I did was, in fact, this is the first, is that I had a mentor who believed in me. I had a mentor who agreed to just support me without even knowing how I'm going to do it. So every time when I thought that I'm being pulled down, I would just give him a call, and he was always available to just hear me out. So sometimes you don't need advice, and trust me, from a mentor especially, it's not just always about product idea scalability. Sometimes it's also about sharing your emotional self, the emotional state of mind. So when anything that would pull me down would happen, or even so there were days when my parents would get pissed, and they were like, what are you doing? And you were there in Delhi where you were at least earning. I would just give him a call and request for message him and say, can I talk to you for 5 minutes? And I would just share everything. He would share his perspective, and I think that would motivate me. So, as I said, mentor is almost like for fishes, you need water, right? So it's the same, because it can really lift you to a level you can't imagine.
Yeah.
So that's what I would do. So find a mentor, and a mentor does not need to be from a startup industry. A mentor can be your mom, a mentor can be your friend. So someone who believes in you, and one who's not going to judge you. So someone who believes in you unconditionally, and you can go and share without being the fear of being judged. That's what I would call a mentor.
That's very important advice for people who as they look forward to become an entrepreneur, whom
Yes,
really to have a lifelong mentor, not just a mentor because they're an expert, but I think that's a very important
exactly.
one.
Yes.
You're also like, can you kind of give advice to the budding student, rather the budding entrepreneurs who are thinking of moving ahead? How can they look for potential opportunities, entrepreneurship opportunities? What really should they be doing to be able to spot an opportunity? Is it something they need to make an effort, or do they need to develop some skills?
So see, I think it's a great question. Um, for anyone to start up, you should not start up just for the sake of it. I think, obviously everyone thinks it's so cool to be a startup founder. Trust me, guys, from an outside world, it looks amazing, and it is. Like I love it right now, but it's not a bed of roses. So unless you're very clear what you want to do, don't kill yourself just saying, "Oh, I want to be a founder, so I'm going to, do something about it." It's fine to work with skills. It's fine to, eventually find out what you want to do. So if you have an idea, great, start right away. Find people who believe in you. If you don't have, just work with someone else, for someone else, and probably in the journey you will find what you want to really do in life. So sometimes it might not be that you want to start up another company, and you will find your spot in that same company or startup or wherever you're working, and that will take you to places. So I think the most important thing is that it should come from within, and you should be solving a problem. As I said, don't just start up for the whole uh, glamour of it that is visible to the outside world. I mean, everyone thinks, oh my God, XYZ got funded, so it's a great startup. No, we need to make revenue, we need to make money, we need to be relevant to the industry. You need to be solving a real problem that will help people in some way. So today I feel proud of the fact that from our technology, people across the world try on jewelry without reaching to the stores, through our websites, through the web tech or the phones. I mean, imagine you or me. I mean, we are scared touching and trying multiple jewelry because I'll be
Absolutely.
thinking who's worn it before me, right? So I look at this opportunity exactly how Pate got an opportunity for demonetization. I mean, exactly how augmented reality is now in the COVID era. So we are solving a real problem, and a problem that is going to help people. So yeah, I mean, I think that's really important.
Great. And I think the one student, Saif, who asked the same question, but I guess he got answered. He was asking, how should one decide amongst many opportunities that you might think with an experience? How should you choose to work upon?
So I think do market research. Talk to people, understand who are your customers, go and talk to them and ask them, will they pay for it or will they use it? Do a MVP. I think one mistake that I made was I was always being a designer. I was always very focused on um, going to 100%. So accuracy. I will not launch a product even if there is an alignment issue. And I realized I was wrong. You need to roll out quick and fail quicker if that is what you have to do. So don't sit on it. If you believe in something, do a quick MVP. These days you have so many tools that you can make a quick website. Even if it's an e-commerce, there is Shopify. If there are other things, there are a lot of tools that we have in which you can explore and get your products out, at least to the first 50, 100, 200 customers. Get it out, validate it, evaluate it, and then take a decision. But honestly, do quick and fail quick if you have to fail
Since we are
at that.
talking, yeah, I think that's the mantra that a lot of people hear about.
Hmm. Yeah.
And also, since you're giving few tips, what would be your tips to people who are going for their first pitch or earlier pitches? Pitches for their early funding. What would your thoughts be, or
be
advice be
very
for them?
be very clear about your idea, and also think big. I've always believed in thinking big. So when an investor sees that vision in you, right? So today your product might not be the best. You'll go with an MVP, you'll go for seed funding. It is always and always the vision that will get an investor excited. The vision and the team.
Right.
So have a product, as I said, but if suppose I say I'm only catering 5 lakh people, I mean, it's very small. Today I'm talking about, I'm looking at a $1 trillion opportunity with retail, right? And I'm looking at a global product. I'm already in 5 countries and I'm looking at the world as my client. So that is when, and just talking is not enough. You need to have a clear idea how you're going to go there. So it's not important that you are there, but if you know what your vision is, what your product is, and how you'll go there, if you have a clear idea, then I think you'll have a lot of investors chasing you.
What is your view about working smart and working hard? There is, and I'm using this term because millennials see smart work as no hard work. I
So
want to hear about this.
So between me and Akhil, I have to say I'm the hard worker and he's a smart worker. Probably because he's way younger. But I think there always has to be a fine line between both, and it has to be balanced. You can't be a hard worker and not work smartly. And at the same time, you can be a smart worker, but if you're working like only 2 hours a day, you have to think that if you put in more efforts or more work, you can achieve much larger things than that.
Okay.
So I think working smart is extremely important. But
Thank you so much, Meghna. We are just bang at 12 noon. Any final parting words to the attendees over here? Quick
um,
bullet points kind of words, which will be something they can kind of take with them and think about it as they move on.
um, at every step of life, in every step, are going to doubt on you. People are going to pull you down. People are going to create obstacles for you, and you would want to give up, but don't give up. And I think if you have that mantra, if you are very determined, if you're persistent, and if you're a hustler, if you are someone who can find your ways to get things done, you will succeed in any part of the life. Like anywhere, anything that you do, you will not be disappointed. So this is something that I have believed in. This is something that I live by every single day. There are days when emotionally you are drained. There are days that people drain you out, but every single day when you wake up, and how Steve Jobs said that when you go to sleep, ask yourself, whatever you're doing, if it's making sense, great. If it's not, change it. So this comes again with persistence, because change it but don't give up. So yeah, I think that's all I have to say. That be extremely focused, be passionate, and you're getting one life, you're getting this one opportunity. Make full use of it.
Thank you, Meghna. Thank you so much for sharing your story and such a lively discussion that we had. It's amazing. The product is amazing, and
Thank you so much.
we wish you continued success. May we see many more things, and may we see some of our students getting excited enough to walk your path or get inspired by what you have achieved. Thank you so much for taking time out being here. And
Thank you
I,
so
from
much.
on behalf of Propel, behalf of BML Munjal University, and all the people who are on this webinar, thank you so much.